if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
So, Mr. President, is that a reflection that you think Doge and Elon Musk have been moving too quickly?
There you have President Trump answering questions moments ago in the Oval Office. Talked a lot about the hostages, meeting with them yesterday. Talked a little bit about Doge. He met with some members of Doge.
This is an unexpectedly quick follow-up to a video we just did about how earlier today Donald Trump finally supposedly flexed on Elon Musk and put him in his place. Well, now in the Oval Office answering questions from reporters, Trump seems to be walking that back somewhat, almost as if Musk flexed on him. And Trump also makes a series of disastrous comments related to his painful and unnecessary trade war with our three biggest trading partners. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we've got a couple of clips to play, but I want to focus on the first two clips first, related to Doge, right? The so-called Department of Government Efficiency led by Elon Musk. Again, earlier today, Trump supposedly flexed on Musk, put him in his place, and said, hey, cabinet officials, you guys are in charge. Musk is just an advisor. Well, Trump seems to be somewhat walking that back. We're going to play these clips and unpack it together.
We want them to keep the good people. And so we're going to be watching them, and Elon and the group are going to be watching them. And if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
So did you catch that, right? So he seemed to totally walk back everything he said reportedly at that cabinet meeting. Yeah, so, ideally we want the cabinet to do the cutting and the firing. But if they're not going to do it, Elon's going to do it because Elon's going to be watching them. So it's really not that the cabinet officials are in charge. Trump's just going to let them have the first crack at making these supposed cuts. But ultimately, they will be overseen by Musk, who will ultimately do the cutting if Musk thinks that the cabinet officials aren't doing what Musk wants them to do. A total reversal. Once again, feeding the perception that Elon Musk is truly the shadow president of the United States. Stunning stuff. He's asked another question about Doge and Doge's success rate and whether or not they're moving too fast. And again, Trump bends the knee and foists effuse praise on Doge.
Mr. President, is that a reflection that you think Doge and Elon Musk have been moving too quickly?
No, I think they've done an amazing job. They've done an amazing job, and look at what they found. I read it the other night in the speech. I mean, they found these things where billions of dollars has been poured down the drain to things. That's not about people, that's about contracts where billions and billions of dollars was just thrown out the window. It probably got kickbacks. I'm sure that.
So, again, right? No, Musk hasn't moved too quickly, even though reportedly Trump understood that that's exactly what happened, that Musk was moving too quickly. He was stepping on toes. He was violating the cabinet officer's, authority. He had made mistakes. High-profile mistakes, which was reflected in consistent polling. Musk's popularity is underwater. He's losing support even among Republicans. Doge in reality, not Doge the theory, Doge in practice, as led by Musk, is also consistently unpopular in the polls. And now Trump's reversing course, saying, oh, no, they haven't moved too quickly. They've been doing great. And they've also, they found billions of dollars in fraud. Again, total BS. From New York Times, fact check on this, okay? The White House spokesperson said the Department of Government Efficiency had identified hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud in the federal government, but even the government overhaul team itself does not purport to have found that much in specific savings or fraud. According to Musk's team, it's generated $105 billion in savings as of Sunday. The initiative's website includes details for canceled contracts that says a total of about $8 billion in savings and broad descriptions for about $10 billion in terminated grants and $660 million in terminated leases. That's a total of less than $20 billion, with the rest appearing unexplained. But as the New York Times and other outlets have documented, the roughly $20 billion in savings is also not verified. The initiative has updated its website periodically to address mistakes, such as contracts erroneously listed as worth billions, but actually worth millions, millions instead of billions, contracts that were counted multiple times, and contracts that have long ended or were not actually canceled. The Federal Government Accountability Office estimated last year, before the creation of Doge, that government loses $233 billion to $521 billion a year to fraud. But it is unclear if any of the Trump administration cuts announced thus far were canceled payments for fraudulent services. While Trump and other officials have cast spending with which they disagree as wasteful, fraud involves deception or misrepresentation. For example, Doge has said that it's canceled leases at underused and vacant properties and that there's plenty of available office space for the current workforce. It did not mention fraud in these leases. So again, what are you talking about? There's no evidence for this claim, and Doge is constantly tripping over itself with corrections and face-saving maneuvers. Oh my God, we fired nuclear stockpile workers. Hire them back quickly. You shouldn't have fired them in the first place. But this seems to suggest that there's, I don't know if Musk, again, pulled the leash on Trump after the meeting, like, how dare you? But again, just almost like a complete 180 about what we discussed earlier, which was reported, and Trump's much more submissive posture now. Stunning stuff. But I also want to play some clips while we're on the topic of this Oval Office meeting of Trump and his trade war, the painful and unnecessary trade war. This is him talking about disruptions.
That we have to do. There'll always be a little short-term interruption. I don't think it's going to be big, but the countries and companies that have been ripping us aren't particularly happy with what I'm doing. But the United States will be very happy. And, our farmers are going to be very happy. And again, there'll be disruption. But in the end, I said it before with China, we signed an unbelievable deal.
In Trump's trade war with China, it amounted to one of the biggest tax increases in the history of this country. Number one. Number two, Trump's administration had to work overtime to provide subsidies to American farmers because American farmers got screwed by Trump's trade war with China in his first term. And also, this idea that there would be disruption, you promised that there would be no disruption. There would be no inflation, no price hikes whatsoever. Now you're walking it back because the proof is in the pudding and people are starting to feel it. He's an inveterate liar, folks. Just lie, lie, lie. Here's another clip.
President Trump, what's your thought about why the markets are so spooked? Do you think they don't like the tariffs, or do they not like the uncertainty with some of the changes and the carve-outs?
Well, a lot of them are globalist countries and companies that won't be doing as well because we're taking back things that have been taken from us many years ago. We've been treated very unfairly as a country. We protect everybody. We do everything for all these countries. And a lot of these are globalist in nature. They have, if you're outside of the United States, it's going to be a little bit different. We just weren't treated right. We were ripped off as a country.
You remember, folks, the United States, Canada, Mexico agreement, the USMCA. Trump was the one who created that deal. What the hell are you talking about? Globalist countries and companies. Yes, globalism is real. The world is more integrated now, business-wise and commercially, than it's ever been. You created the deal that you say is now ripping off Americans. And how the hell does that answer that question in the first place? Markets are spooked because of your painful and unnecessary trade war, the tariffs, the threat of tariffs, the whiplash with you going back and forth, because there's no consistency with you. Weird, weird shit. I want to play this one too. It's so bad that Fox actually starts to cut away from Trump as he answers these questions because he's doing such a disastrous, incoherent job.
And if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
So, Mr. President, is that a reflection that you think Doge and Elon Musk have been moving too quickly?
There you have President Trump answering questions moments ago in the Oval Office. Talked a lot about the hostages, meeting with them yesterday. Talked a little bit about Doge. He met with some members of Doge.
So that's hilarious, right? I didn't even catch that part the first time around. They're cutting away from Trump when he's answering questions about Doge, that awkward question about, the relationship between Musk and the cabinet and how much authority Musk has, right? Even Fox recognizes, oof, this was not a very good answer. I want to play one other clip here, and this is in regards to Trump's decision to blink with respect to a specific tariff, or rather tariffs against a specific industry with regards to Mexico and Canada, the automotive industry. We discussed this yesterday. He said that there would be a brief pause for automakers, and he comments on that.
On the auto tariffs that you were talking about, I know yesterday you spoke with the big three. Did you tell them that no more exemptions were on the way, and what was the reaction?
I told them, that's it. This was a short-term deal. And they came back to me yesterday. They said, could we have some help on the tariffs because of the speed? And I said, look, I'm going to do it, but that's it. Don't come back to me after the April 2nd. I don't want to hear from you after April 2nd. We're not going to be doing it anymore. I want to help them.
What was their response?
They didn't complain, but I helped them short term during this short term transition.
Interesting. Just don't come. I paused at this once, but you all better like make magic changes. You all better have a gazillion factories and automotive plants in this country in a month. I don't know what he expects from them. I doubt they know or imagine what he expects from them. What a total shit show. Once again, prove, folks, that Donald Trump does not know what he is doing. He's just making this shit up as he goes along and seems to be, especially with regards to Elon Musk, seems to be living in total fear of this unelected bureaucrat, the shadow president. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.